like all those vinyls behind you. That's cool, man.
Yeah, I'm a big vinyl guy, record guy. I love it. And yeah, I got back into it a few years back. As a kid, started out with vinyl and got back into it and just never got rid of the records I had as a kid and just only added to it.
Oh, that's so cool, man. Well, John, we're just gonna start, man, right away. But
Okay.
I it's good seeing you again, man. Last time I saw
Yeah.
you were at my house.
I know. That was pandemic year, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh, that during the pandemic? I'm trying to remember if that was right before or during. I can't remember now.
I think it was during. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense. You had time off.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was talking about those vinyls behind you. Do you have those, like, in order and everything? I mean,
I do. I'm a little OCD about it. They're alphabetized and by
Yeah.
bands. This behind me, this is just Beatles and Kiss here,
Oh,
and
wow, that's all
more stuff downstairs. It's just,
so
uh, yeah, big vinyl guy.
if you had to pick between, like, if somebody said either Beatles or Kiss, which one would you go for?
Yeah, I mean, I love Beatles. They're awesome. But Kiss was the gateway band for me, right? This Kiss, as a kid, I was the right age, kicked all this off for me. So
Yes.
Kiss, yeah, Kiss was the band, and I've just stuck with them, man, all through the years. And I had a bunch of friends that went to the last couple of shows in New York City, and uh, we were playing, so I wasn't able to do those. But if you had to put a gun to my head, I would say Kiss. But I mean, the Beatles, what incredible music, man.
Yes, man, I love it. Have you ever seen that Beatles movie, Yesterday, where, like, time alters and the guy it's like the Beatles never existed?
Yes, I've heard about it. I haven't seen it though.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, I need to see that. I do know what you're talking about, and I need to see that.
Going, about Kiss, have you heard about Jericho's '80s Kiss tribute band that he did during, the pandemic? It was like they were called
Ye-
Quarantine or something like that?
Yeah, yeah, I caught a couple of the tracks that they did. Yeah, it was awesome. Very cool.
Has
Yeah.
Seether ever played or opened for Kiss at all?
We did sort of indirectly. We played Download in the UK, and I want to say, man, when was that? 2008 or 2009? And we were like main stage, and they headlined, and we were maybe 4 or 5 bands before them. Interesting mix. It was like Kid Rock was on there, but yeah, it was Download in the UK. So Seether, that was the only time that we actually kind of crossed paths with Kiss. We played with Kiss, but my first band, my old band, the Nixons, we opened for Kiss on the reunion tour.
Oh, wow, back in
Yeah,
'96 or something like that?
yeah, 96. That's right. And we did
Wow.
some amazing shows. Yeah, it was like over 2 weeks, 6 shows. The tour had only maybe 3 weeks into it. I mean, it was just the biggest tour of that year, biggest tour of that summer. We did 6 shows. It was like Cleveland and Pittsburgh, and our last one was they did 4 sold out nights. It was kind of cool. They did 4 sold out nights at Madison Square Garden, and they were rotating opening bands. So the Melvins played,
Oh, yeah, cool.
311 played, and then we
Nice.
opened for them the last night of the 4 nights they did at Madison Square Garden. So that
Oh my
was
gosh.
that was awesome. I had my family, and of course my
Dude.
mom was there, because my mom put up with it for all the years, right? The bands in the
Yeah.
garage, the bands in the living room, the drums, and Kiss blaring out of my room as a kid. And
Oh, man,
yeah,
it's like your mom's like, "You've made it," that's like
yes, exactly. And I wanted her to be
wow.
there. And so yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was awesome.
I love Madison Square Garden, man. That's amazing. Do you get nervous
Oh,
playing at
yeah.
Madison Square Garden? Like, what's the adrenaline going?
It's a trip because the hallway is just tons of photos that were taken there. Historic photos, man. Muhammad Ali's on the wall, Elvis is on the wall, as you're walking to the stage. So yeah, it's a legendary venue. But to an extent, I get nervous for all, when we play. I mean, it's just it's not like stage fright, but I get excited. I get nervous every time we play.
That's
You know,
good.
I know I never lost that. I mean, that's for sure. I want to do a good job, and uh, I don't want to suck. And so I
Right.
I get stressed and, a little worried and but anxious and ready to hit the stage. And so I still get nervous for, all our shows to an extent.
Yeah, I know, I was talking to Morgan Rose once, and he was saying that if he is tired or hungover, back in the day, they used to open with "Shoot to Thrill." They'll play AC/DC song, "Shoot to Thrill," and
Yeah,
he's like, once he heard that, it just changed something changed, he's like, "Oh, let's go."
it's
Did
kind of a
Seether have something
switch.
like that? Did you guys have, like, a certain opening song you used a lot,
It
or you
wasn't
still use?
just any one song, but I tell you, when we put on classic Pantera, we put on
Oh,
Pantera
sweet.
before the show. Yeah, we put on heavy stuff in the dressing room, just kinda getting amped up. And there's a band on the East Coast, we were Scissor Fight, have you ever heard of them?
No, I've never heard of them.
And cool band, and, Sean, we were those, Scissor Fight and Pantera, those are, like, great pre-show songs to, like, kinda get in and get into that headspace,
Oh,
and
very
just
cool.
yeah, we all share the love of Pantera, so that's always a good one to kinda get amped up and get ready to hit the stage.
Did you know the Pantera guys? I mean, did you have any good stories with Dime and Vinny
Yeah,
or Rex?
I'm from Oklahoma, so, my old band, again, the Nixons, we played the basement, their venue, where
Oh,
the videos for the first album, Cowboys, was shot. I
yeah.
saw Pantera right when Phil joined them at a little, arcade, in Moore, Oklahoma, called Jammers. They used to play back in the day. They still were doing cover songs. This is when
Wow.
Phil first joined. They're doing what was the album? Power Metal.
Yeah.
And it was like, Phil's still doing kind of his Jeff Tate Queensryche scream. It's right before Cowboy. So yes, I mean, used to Vinny would come see the Nixons all the time, and then obviously Seether. And then we toured with Hell Yeah,
Mm,
obviously, and spent a
mhm.
lot of time with Vinny. Again, the Kiss connection with Daryl and Vinny. We always geeked out on Kiss, talked to Kiss. So um yeah, I had, obviously a lot more conversations and time with Vinny, but, yeah, great guys,
Yeah,
great
that's great,
guys.
man. Kyle Sanders from Hell Yeah lives down the road from me, so, just a small world.
Yeah, yeah,
So Seether has a new album coming out, The Surface Seems So Far. The
yeah,
Surface Seems So Far, yeah. That's, coming out in September 20th, right?
that's right, yeah, in September, finally. Yeah, we finished it up in January and, yeah, ready to go. Singles out, Judas Mind's out, and, we just did a performance for Sirius Octane.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, it was great, and, there's
Sounded
still
great.
some more stuff to come. We did another song off the album, which, isn't officially released yet, so that'll be added to that show, to that performance, that'll come out as well, and it was cool. We did a 21 Pilots cover, Jumpsuit, and,
Oh, cool. Is that gonna be on the
yeah,
album too, or is that
and,
just a live thing?
no, it was just part of that Octane thing. We did, like, 3 old ones, 2 new ones, and then they asked for a cover. And we've done a lot of covers over the years, Alice in Chains, Deftones,
Oh, yeah, yeah, that was a good one.
yeah, great ones, and we wanted to try something new, so Sean suggested that 21 Pilots song, and I think it turned out really good, but it was a lot of fun, so I've got a jam room here at my house upstairs, a music room where I have a kit set up, and my boys and the bands that they're with, they play and rehearse, and so I got in there and had to do some woodshedding and learn a cover, but it was a lot of fun.
How did you guys, pick Judas Mind for the first single? Was that, like everybody's like, "This has gotta be it"? Was that the focus
Yeah, I
song?
mean, it was really kinda tough. There were 2 or 3, I think the band, including Judas, wanted to be the first single. We definitely knew that we wanted to come out with a rocker, with a burner,
Yeah.
and, sometimes the label may wanna go a different direction, but, uh, they kinda saw what we were wanting to do, and they did agree. Judas Mind was a great rocker, a great kind of first time out, and we just wanted to remind everybody. I mean, we've been away for a while, um, over a year. I mean, some of the last shows, shoot, we're 22, and we were all off all of 23. So that was like the longest break, we had ever taken. And so with that much time away, we wanted to remind everybody about Seether, and so we wanted to come out with a rocker, and so we all with the label kind of collectively decided on Judas.
Yeah, are you guys gonna I saw the lyric video. Are you gonna do a full-on music video for it?
Yeah, we shot a video and it's being edited and put together now, and it should be out pretty soon. But yeah, we have done a proper video for Judas Mind that'll be coming out.
Do you like the way music's coming out on Spotify where bands are putting out, like, slowly just dripping the new album out, like 4 it seems like 4 or 5 songs almost until they
Yeah,
release the album. Is that what you guys are gonna do?
No, I think, there may be one additional song that'll come out before the album, but I think pretty much Judas Mind will be, the focus is a single, and it's still sort of the classic tradition where a single comes out about 6 weeks before the album drops.
Mm,
And so we may tease it with another song, but yeah, we're not going to like slowly release 4 or 5 and then the album. It's going to
right.
be this single and then boom, the album. And then we tour in September and October. So the album will be out by that point. And so we'll kind of do it sort of the old school traditional way of single 6 weeks before and then the album.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. And I was thinking about the new seed. Like you're gonna put a vinyl out. I'm assuming. I just
Yeah.
I just watched this Metallica video last night where they were showing the plant. I guess Metallica owns their own pressing, and so
Yes.
they visited the plant. Seether needs their own plant. You know what I mean?
No, I mean, they've they figured it out. That's
Yeah,
incredible, right? I mean, to be able to do that, it's so smart, man.
yeah,
Because a
man.
lot of these pressing plants got all backed up with Adele and, and Taylor Swift and stuff, and sometimes there's an 8 to 9 month turnaround. There can be. There's some massive waiting lists now for vinyl to get manufactured. And sometimes that has a lot to do with the timing of when your album's released because a lot of bands like us, we're going to release vinyl. We do like vinyl bundles, right? Merch
Yeah,
bundles, stuff that, different color variants, and I'm a vinyl guy, as you can see, a vinyl geek collector. And then if I'm a fan of a band, I have to have all of those, if
right.
there's different colors and one's rarer than the other, I've got to try to find it and get it. So yeah, sometimes the waiting list can be pretty crazy. So Metallica's got it made with their pressing plant and being able to do their own records. I think that's awesome. I
Yeah.
wish we could do that maybe eventually down the road, but uh, I think it's not as bad as it was in terms of how long it takes to get vinyl made. And so in this case, for us, it's 4 or 5 months, and then like we said, the album will be out in September, and the vinyl will be out at that time too.
Oh, great. And do you pick out the colors? Does everybody agree, like, we're gonna have our vinyl this color and that color? Is it just random?
Yeah, the band kind of works with management and the label, and then obviously it was sort of if anyone has seen them, the color kind of goes with the color scheme of the artwork,
Yeah.
sort of that aqua blue, aquamarine with black and white, and so we have kind of variants based on those primary colors.
Are you guys gonna release the cassette tape as well?
I don't think so. That would be
I've
cool. It's kind
I've
of the
seen
the
bands do
novelty
that,
thing
yeah.
with that, right? The cassettes have kinda made a comeback too. They
Yeah.
don't sound as good as vinyl, but, if there's a demand for it, I mean, I think it would be cool to do, but as far as I know, I don't know if we're gonna do cassettes or
Yeah,
not.
Eddie Trunk always drives me nuts because he's like, "It just doesn't sound as good." I'm like,
I
"It's
know.
it's nostalgic, man." Like, I just
That's
wanna
it.
hold it and look at it. Like, that's what I collected when I was a kid, you know?
Yeah, absolutely, and I have a pretty decent turntable, and you can get a fairly nice setup. It doesn't have to cost an arm and a leg. You can get a pretty nice setup, and man, I've got some over-ear Bluetooth Sennheiser, headphones, man, and
Oh, yeah.
I've got some vinyl that sounds every bit as good or better than a CD. I mean, really, just it sounds awesome, so warm, and I just love the sound of vinyl. And
Yeah.
yeah, I know Eddie, and I hear him all the time talking about CDs. Man, they're
Yeah.
cheaper. I don't know why you pay all that money for vinyl, and they suck, and they don't sound as good. And yeah, it's just like you said, though. It's the nostalgic thing. It's like full circle for me. As a kid, the first way I heard music was on vinyl. So
Mhm.
yes, it's definitely a nostalgic thing for me to be able to hold that in my hand and see the artwork
Oh,
up
yeah,
close,
man.
and you can actually read the liner notes and the credits. You don't need a magnifying glass to read all that stuff. And
Yeah.
I love the tactile feel of vinyl and the cover and looking at it. And I think it's so cool. So it's definitely a nostalgic thing too. But I disagree with Eddie. I think it sounds pretty damn awesome. And I would
Yeah.
argue it can compete pretty well with the CD.
Do you have all the Kiss album, like the original Kiss vinyls and Beatles?
Yeah, I went back, because as a kid, the Kiss records were so fun because some of them would come with posters and books and stickers and all kinds of tattoos. There were like tattoos you could rub on tattoos, I think came in live too.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so as a kid, man, I took all that stuff and hung it up and taped it on my walls and used all the tattoos and messed all that stuff up. So being sort of the collector nerd that I am, I went back and recollected all that stuff to get really nice copies of everything, really clean with all that stuff still inside. So yeah, to answer your question, yes, I have all the Kiss albums with all the original inserts and stuff. And then I also collect Japanese albums. I love the Obi strips that come on some of those Japanese pressings. They had some great stuff that came inside those records too. They sound phenomenal too. But I have, Kiss and Beatles vinyl from all over the world, different countries, South American. I love alternate covers. Sometimes there would be a different country would do a different cover than like what we had in the States. And I love kind of,
Very cool.
yeah, unique anomalies like that.
Yeah, man. I feel like you and John 5 could like compete on who, collects more Kiss stuff.
Oh yeah, we've done. There's a podcast called "Kiss My Wax," and we've both been guests on there talking
Oh,
and totally
cool.
geeking out on vinyl Kiss stuff. And he'll call me and vice versa about now which pressing was that again, and was that which label was on that Japanese different stuff. And it's pretty cool. We just played with Motley Crue. We did 2 shows. We played in Milwaukee and we played in Quebec. And unfortunately, I didn't get to really hang with John. I was hoping to do that, but yeah, we've talked vinyl and Kiss vinyl before.
Yeah, that's really cool that you're just playing shows with Motley Crue now and this day.
Yeah. Yeah, they sounded great with John. It was just killer. And we played this huge festival in Quebec. And I don't know if you saw it. I posted some pictures on my socials, and the crowd was 80,000.
Oh my gosh, man.
It's like the biggest festival in North America, and it was incredible. Yeah, so we played. We were main support for Motley Crue, and that was in Quebec. It was amazing, huge crowd. I mean, when you have that many people, it almost doesn't seem real. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? There's like everybody's like, well, a crowd that big, you're like really nervous, right? And it's like weird, a smaller crowd, an intimate crowd, like an acoustic setting or something, where people are like pressed
More
up right
intimate.
against the stage.
Yeah.
You're looking right in their faces.
Yeah.
That's like nerve wracking to me.
Yeah. Same here,
Whereas like
man.
a massive crowd like that, it almost seems surreal. It's kind of a weird thing. And oddly enough, I don't get quite as nervous with that.
Yeah, I
That
hear
was
that a
incredible.
lot from a lot of people. The smaller crowds are more intimidating. And it must
Absolutely.
yeah, and play in front of 80,000 people, that's amazing, dude. I'm j
Yes.
that just to me, in my mind, I think of, like, Woodstockers, but I'm sure Woodstock was probably bigger, but that just seems like that kinda crowd, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And the dressing rooms were quite a ways from the stage. So classic Seether, we got in late. We didn't sound check. We just basically, our crew was already there, set everything up, and we didn't see the crowd and understand the size of it until we literally walked out on stage.
Oh, wow.
And yes, I got up on my riser, and Sean hits sort of kind of the big note, the big sort of droning beginning, little noise at the beginning. And it's just this sea of humanity. And I wasn't expecting it. We played Milwaukee with him before, and that was like an outdoor amphitheater,
Mm.
15, 18,000. I mean, it was awesome. It was huge. But this, I don't know. No one went, hey, we have a great show. By the way, there's 80,000 people out there. I got up on my riser and was like, holy shit. It
Yeah.
was incredible.
The adrenaline must have been pumping.
Yeah. Yeah. It
Have you
was
guys
good.
done cruises? Like, I know, like, you probably have. How do you like
Yeah.
playing on cruises?
Yeah. They're okay. We've done Shipwrecked
Okay,
and
yeah.
3 times, 2 or 3 times, and they're fun. We get to bring our family, so my wife came with me, so that's kind of cool. So you try to kind of squeeze in a little vacation, and
Yeah.
yeah, I had fun, and the fans are very respectful. Nobody was, annoying or rude. I mean, everybody's just cool. And you go see other bands, watch other bands. Everybody was really cool. So my experience with Shipwrecked was, I didn't mind it. I had a good
You didn't
time.
mind so you just walk around, you meet fans, I mean, they're all
Yeah,
right there, just yeah.
yeah, yeah. It was great, and the food was good. The shows were awesome. We did usually 2 shows, and then there's like a signing, sort of a meet and greet thing that you do, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. And again, like I said, the fans are not all up in your face, or everybody's very respectful. Everybody's just there to have a good time, and if they want to come up and talk, and that everybody's, yeah, cool. It was great. I had a great experience with it.
Man, you've been in the band now for what, almost what, 21 years now or something like
Yeah,
that?
21
That's a
years.
drinking age. That's crazy.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah, I love it when, somebody maybe 15, 16 or come up and just like, "Man, you guys are awesome, and my dad played you guys all the time when I was a
Yeah.
kid," And you're like, "Wow." On
You got
one
the different decades, yeah.
Yes, exactly. You're like, "Wow." On one side, you're like, "Shit, I'm old, man." On the other, you're just like, that's really cool. That's really cool.
Have you collected stuff along the way, like Seether stuff? Are you kind of a collector of your own, like,
Yeah.
stuff, merch or whatever?
Yeah, I always try to grab posters
Mhm.
and, event posters, venue
Yeah.
posters, all along the way, and I've kept all my passes and, things that you acquired over the years. I've kept certain pairs of sticks, like I just did the video, like I mentioned for Judas Mind, and those sticks, I'll keep them, save them as, these were the sticks used in the video and just kinda
Oh,
keep
wow,
those
that's
up,
cool.
stuff like that, and so yeah, I have that collector's mentality, and so even when it comes to Seether stuff, and uh, yeah, I've kept stuff and try to keep things. It's always at the end of a tour, got to clean out my bunk, and I have figured out the way of getting venue posters to remain flat and unwrinkled by putting them under the mattress of my bunk through the whole tour, right? So then
Oh,
you
that's a
roll
good
them up.
idea.
Yeah, you roll them up there at the very end, and so when you get on the plane or whatever, they're not all crushed and mangled and ripped or whatever, and so I've come up with some tricks over the years, but yeah, Sean always hits me up. We're getting to anniversaries of some albums, and and in the future we're talking about putting some things together, deluxe packages and stuff. And he's like, "Man, we're going to be needing to go through your collection, seeing what you got. We're going to be pulling out some stuff, so get ready." I'm like, "Oh, we have to go at the storage unit and go through all that stuff."
And I was thinking you've been in the Nixons now forever too. I mean, that's like got to be over 30 years, right?
Yeah, so yeah, that band, we kind of went on hiatus about 2001, 2002, about a year and a half, 2 years before I joined Seether. And then in 2017, yeah, we were just the timing worked out where we could do some reunion shows, and then that snowballed into some new music, and I'll be playing a couple of shows with them here at the end of the year. And because the schedule permits, and we may have talked about this before, but my oldest son, Jackson,
Yep.
killer drummer, when there's a conflict and there's a Nixon show and I've got Seether stuff, he fills in for the
Yeah.
Nixons and does an outstanding job. In fact, he'll be doing a show with him in September. And it's
That's so
pretty
cool.
cool. It's become, the family business, if you will. And Jackson fills in, and it's cool. It's funny. I was talking to him the other day, and I'm like, a reminder, we're doing our calendar, and it's like, yeah, the Seether tour goes through September, and you remember you're doing the Nixon show, right? He's like, yeah, I've got that, right? I'm feeling.
Is this style like are you guys have the same style or does he play it? Can you tell he plays a little different or
Yeah, I think he's amazing, man. He
yeah.
shows me stuff. He's an incredible drummer, but he can hit them hard. He's a rocker too, and yeah, he'll do a great job. He'll
Yeah,
be
that's gonna
doing
make you
all
so
kinds of
happy.
stuff. Oh yeah, it's incredible, and my youngest is a bass player, guitar player. The music gene got passed on. I keep saying I didn't really push it onto them, but they both, the talent's undeniable, and they both have a passion for music, and it's really great to see it carry on. And they're both, you know, not only great people, but awesome musicians, and they're just doing their thing, and it's really great to see as a parent.
Yeah, that's awesome. I have 2 kids, and it's like you can go 2 routes, right? You can go like, "I'm gonna play like my dad did," or my kids,
Yeah,
they just view it as like furniture. Like I always say that
yeah,
they see the drums, they walk right by it. All their friends love it, but they're like, "Yeah,
right.
yeah, that's just dad's, drums,
That's
bass,
dad stuff.
whatever." Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, and it's funny, they love music, they love all kinds of stuff, and they're listening to stuff that, took me a long time. Like, I was just talking to my youngest now, he's gonna be 20 in August. He's going through a Neil Young phase, and I didn't,
Cool.
like, get into Neil Young until I was, like, later on, 30s or something, really, before I kinda caught on to Neil Young, but they're just both so open-minded to music. But say my Kiss collection, they love Kiss, but they don't love love Kiss like I do, right? So the collection, they're not into like, oh, I'm going to be passing that down to them. That's not really something they they would want per se,
Right.
but they love music. But like you said, my kids kind of walk through and I've got vinyl everywhere and Kiss memorabilia, and they're like, yeah, that's dad's stuff, man. That's dad's.
Oh man. Going back to the Nixons though, I saw that you guys did a Christmas song a couple years ago, or a year ago, or 2 years ago.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, so on the self-titled album, we did a song. It's an original called December, and so we did a re-record of it. Zach, the singer, changed the lyrics a little bit to be
Oh
a
yeah.
little more associated with Christmas. So yeah, so we did a song for Christmas, and it's really the first band I've ever been with that's actually done something really directly Christmas related. But yeah, it worked out, and we had a lot of fun recording it. But it was one of our original songs, or the Nixons was one of their songs. Our song's called December.
Right. And the Nixons had that massive hit with Sister.
Yeah.
That was like back what, 95 or 6 or
Yeah.
something like that?
Yeah. 95, 90. Yeah. 96. Yeah.
That song's amazing, man. I guess you guys probably close with that song anytime you play live, probably. I mean, that's like a massive Nixon song.
Yeah, I mean, it did really well, and it's pretty cool. The singer wrote it about his sister. It's an actual true story. Is they're very close, and she had moved to California to work, and we were still, as a band and family, we were all still in Oklahoma. So it's pretty amazing. This song that we worked on all together as a band in a little garage in a rent house that we would rehearse in Norman, Oklahoma, not too far from the university, and worked on this song that we really liked, but we had no idea that it was going to do what it did. And
You
it really
didn't.
was, yeah. This is back before obviously social media and streaming and everything. And so back then, the goal was to get a record deal, and you would have to, you would press your own CDs, which wasn't cheap, and literally from your shows, sell this CD and make fans, one by one by doing shows and winning fans over and word of mouth, and the buzz would catch on. And that song, when we recorded it for our first, it was basically a demo, but it was our own independent release. We sold like 15,000 copies of this CD that made the labels take interest, but it was all because of that song. That song had something that just connected with people. And so when we re-recorded it, released it on a major label scale, that song just exploded for
Oh
us. And
yeah.
it's a special song for sure.
Yeah, and that was like back in MTV like prime, where you have the videos,
Oh yeah.
like I love the 90s and all those videos,
I do
man.
too. I
Yeah.
do too. And I remember I was in had an apartment I rented back then. I wasn't home often. I was touring with a roommate of mine. And I remember about the time we came home, one of the few times we did on a little break. And I remember like it was Alanis Morissette, and then Nixon's Sister comes on, and
Wow.
to see it on MTV. And that was like that back then, that was the deal, right?
Yeah.
To see your band in a video get actually played on MTV was a big freaking deal. And to be back home, to be sitting in my apartment and seeing, your band's video on TV, it was
Yeah.
it was a trip, man. And none of that is lost on me. I'm still a fan to this day about music, and I grew up an MTV kid. I'm an 80s kid. I grew up on that generation. So it was a big freaking deal to get on MTV, and that was an amazing time for us.
Were you guys did you guys ever host anything on MTV? I remember that being a big thing, like in 120 Minutes would have a guest host, or, Headbangers Ball or anything like that?
I'm trying to remember. We didn't really guest host anything. We were interviewed for a couple, and Matt Penfield for
Yes, I love that.
120 minutes. And we had another song that was actually played on that show called Happy Song was the
Oh,
name of
cool.
the single. And that was played on 120 minutes. And we still know Matt, and we'll see him at festivals. And I still talk to Matt. I've known Matt a long time.
Yeah,
And,
he's the best.
but yeah, we did something, didn't host, but, we definitely talked to Matt for 120 minutes. I remember something back then.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, very cool. Alright, I have to ask about, Corey. Man, he's
Yeah.
been in the band for, what, a few years now, right? I'm trying
Yeah,
to remember how
since 16, I think,
Corey Lowry.
2016.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was such a crazy time because I would see Clint, and literally I had Clint on the show. I probably already mentioned this in our first interview, but Clint was on the show and he left my house to do your video for
Right.
I can't remember the name of it off the top, but it was just interesting that he was in the band, then Corey's in the band.
Right.
You got the Lowrys in the band,
The
that's awesome.
Lowrys, man, the talented, amazing Lowrys. They are all just amazing human beings and amazing musicians. And yeah, so Seven Dust was on a hiatus, and Clint was with us there for a little while. Seven Dust started back up, and then Corey was just going to fill in. He did a run with us over in Europe, and then Seven Dust kind of got back to things, and Corey was just a really great fit. And I just told him last week, man, we got the mixes back for that Serious Octane, and you know those guys. I mean, they truly are incredible
Yeah.
musicians, and Corey is, I call him the MVP of the band. I mean, he not only is a killer guitar player, very talented, but finding the harmonies, his singing
Mm.
abilities. He's just incredible. He's the MVP for the band, and he just killed it on that Serious Octane performance. And we're very fortunate to have him. He's just again a great person and an amazing talent. He's a killer player.
Yeah, well said, man. I remember when he said he was joining Seether, and I assumed he was just gonna play bass because I
Yeah,
didn't even know he could play guitar like
I didn't either. I remember when he was, Sean was like, yeah, and Corey's going to come fill in for Clint. And I'm like, Corey plays guitar? I'm like, I've always known Corey to play bass. Well, he freaking can play guitar,
Yeah,
and,
dude.
very accomplished. I mean, you wouldn't know that, bass had been his primary instrument. I mean, it was incredible. Super talented, man.
Yeah,
I
so
can't
there's
say it
gotta be
enough.
you gotta have a Seven Dust Seether thing going on, that'd be pretty sick. Little tour going
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, we've crossed paths from time to time. We've never toured together. That would be interesting, but
You have you guys never toured with Seven Dust back in the day?
the Nixons did
The Nixons
actually.
did, yeah.
We took Seven Dust out like on their first album. We did some shows
Oh,
because
that's cool.
we did a festival. It was called the Roar Festival, sort of alternative rock. And I remember Seven Dust was playing a side stage, and I just walked by and was like everybody, man, blown away by this freaking band. And yeah, they did some shows with us, and that was the Nixon's second album, the self-titled album, and they were came out with us. Yeah, I've known those guys a long time, so that's the only time. But Seether, no, we haven't toured with Seven Dust. We've done a lot of festivals together, but we've never toured together.
Man. So you guys are going on tour for the new album in September, right? Is it?
Yes, yeah,
That's good. You're kinda beating the heat wave. You'll still be the heat, but,
right.
it's not, like, brutal, you know?
Yeah, yeah, it's
Playing
perfect
drums
time,
gotta
man.
be crazy.
Yeah, and I like fall. Fall's
All
awesome, man.
rules.
Great time of year, man. Temperature cools down, it'll be perfect. Yeah, we're going out with Skillet, and yeah, it should be a lot of fun. So yeah, that'll start mid-September, go through October, and yeah, it should be a good. And then we just finished a run, back in May, with Stained,
Oh, yeah.
uh, which was an incredible tour, man. Probably one of the best that we had done in a long time. I mean, it was just like it was a perfect fit. The crowds were a great fit, and we had a lot of fun, man. And we've known those guys a long time too, Aaron and Mike Mushak and
Yeah.
all of them, and it was a lot of fun, great shows, and that was a really a great freaking tour. So yeah, I'll be looking forward to the one in September too, in Skillet.
Yeah, I love Skillet too, and,
Yeah,
they've been around for a while now.
yeah,
Yeah, I remember they were,
yeah.
like, kind of like a Christian band maybe. I don't know if they're labeled that. I always just thought they were, but yeah,
Yes,
they've been
yeah,
around for a while.
definitely. They have that, and I remember my youngest again was a big fan of theirs when he kind of first got into music. He would have been about 10 or 11, and there was one of those sort of lack of a better word, it was a revival performance, Christian revival that they had here in the city, and I took him. It was at the arena, and they had different artists of different styles, but Skillet was headlining. So I know those guys. I took my son to meet him. He was just floored. He just was in awe meeting Skillet, all of them, and it was a great show. But they put on the headline show, man, and they came out pyro and full staging and this massive show. So they definitely have that, a huge Christian audience, which is, amazing. And to see the full production, I didn't realize how big they were in that world until I
Mm.
saw that show, and it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, man. I grew up listening to Christian music. I had a
Yeah,
brother that did, so I have a love for all that. I remember Third Day back in the day was a big band that I listened to a lot. But
yeah,
so anyway, I got a buddy named Jay Freeman, who I think you met when you came over to my house, but he wanted to know what your
sure.
favorite Seether album is of all the catalog of Seether records.
Oh man, am I supposed to say the new one? Supposed to say the
That's
new
what I
one, right?
told him. Yeah, that's what I said. I said, "You gotta say the new one, or
Man, that's
besides the
really
new
hard.
one."
That's yeah. I mean, the new one's it's exciting. There's a lot of great memories, man. I mean, Holding On to Strings was our first one with Brendan O'Brien,
Oh,
legendary
yes.
producer. And then the next one, Isolate and Medicate. So we learned so much from Brendan, and so much about writing, crafting songs, producing, and he was just so gracious and an incredible musician, incredible producer. I mean, out of all the producers we've worked with, he truly is. I mean, there's some producers, they have engineers that do all the work, and they just kind of like, what you're doing there is not really cool. So could you just do something different? What the hell does that mean? But Brendan could freaking go over to the piano and like, I'm thinking this change, or he'd sit at the drums and like, John, I was thinking kind of like groove here and drop the bass drum out there and do this, and he'd not play it. He couldn't play it like exact, but it was like, oh, I understand what you're saying. Yeah, absolutely. And you'd sit down and play to be like, yeah, exactly. He truly was a producer, and so much respect for him. There's a reason he's
Yeah, you
incredibly
guys did a
successful.
few albums with him, right? Brendan
Yeah,
O'Brien.
we did. Yeah, those two strings, Holding On to Strings and Isolate. And those were a lot of fun. And working with him was truly a learning experience and an honor. And, my first full length with the band was Karma in Effect. And that was right after. I mean, the first thing I did with them was Broken. And
Uh,
yeah, because disclaimer, the first album is out,
yeah.
and had been out for almost 2 years. They had already toured to death. Fine Again had done,
Mhm.
Driven Under, all those songs were out. Broken was that acoustic track on the album. And the label wanted them to do a song for the Punisher soundtrack. And so I go in, we do Broken, and we're doing this sort of epic, soundtrack version, and with Amy Lee, the duet. And that's the first thing we did. That was just sort of supposed to tie people over while we're working on what's to be the next album. Well, that song takes off, becomes a massive hit.
Oh, yeah,
So we go,
you got a award for it, didn't you? Didn't you have, like, a plaque they gave you? I saw one
yeah,
on your wall.
yeah. And from several countries, Canada and Australia, and it just took off. And so I joked, the first year and a half I was in the band, I was in Europe. I always said with the Nixons band, I wish I had gone overseas. That was one of the things we never were able to do. I never got to see Europe and
Yeah.
overseas in Australia and New Zealand. And then we go tour with Evanescence. We do that song, Broken Every Night. We tour the world. It was like a whirlwind trip, but it was amazing. My first year and a half with the band, we're touring overseas. We go back to South Africa, and it was incredible to see that country and their families, meet their families. And I had just joined the band, and this song made all of that possible. And so, I mean, just right from the get go, man, I hit the ground running when I joined that band, and Broken just exploded. So it was finally, Carmen Effect was my first like full length album with them. The follow up to that, which
Mm,
had
yeah.
Remedy and The
Oh, great
Gift,
song. Mhm.
and great memories doing that first album, full length for me, my first album with them. And so, Jay, that's really hard, man. It's hard to really pinpoint. A lot of great memories, and you love different albums for different reasons. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that's really tough to say.
When you tell me all this stuff, like, I think you should write a book or something, Have you ever thought about that? Just write all your memories in
I've
one
had
place?
some folks say that. I'd love to do it, and I probably ought to do it before I start forgetting more and more. I've already forgotten things over the years. I have my brother, remind me like, "Oh, you're forgetting blah blah blah," or whatever. He has a great memory, but who knows? Maybe one of
Yeah.
these days. I don't know if anybody would be interested. I don't
Oh,
know.
man, they would, man. I love Audible books. I tell everybody that. And some
Yes,
audiobooks, you just
I do
read it
too.
yourself, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I love those Audible books, man. I'm all the time. Yeah, that's pretty much I love, a driving trip, a road trip, and an Audible, or flying in a book, Audible book.
Mm.
Yeah, though you're right. Those are always great.
Would you ever think about doing your own podcast or anything like that? Y
Yeah, I'd like to do one. I'm not too sure. There's a lot of vinyl podcasts already, and Music Geek. I don't know if I have a lot to offer in a new way. Just my memories and stories and vinyl and being a music fan and actually playing and being in the business. But it might be cool. Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
consider it. Sure.
I that would be awesome, and, so your new album comes out soon, next in September.
Yeah.
I love the title too, "The Surface Seems So Far." This is way easier to pronounce than the last album or the album you came
The
over
Latin
with.
terms.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sean gave us a Latin lesson on the last one, so he
Yeah.
thought he'd make it easier for us this time. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
dude, the
Yeah.
last album, I mean, literally, there were email and phone call with management about before I do the interview, am I pronouncing this correctly?
I was thinking about that because you pronounce it perfect, and you're like, "It's Latin. It's, the peace of, they make peace, yet any war," and yeah.
Yeah. Yes. It
That would
was.
be bad if you didn't know how if they're like, "How do you pronounce it?" "I don't know." You
Yeah, it
know?
was. I mean, literally, I like somebody please say this out loud for me, so I'm doing it right. It was
Was that
funny.
ever a discussion where like, "Alright, for our next album, we're gonna make it a little easier to pronounce," or
No, actually, no. I think a lot of the title was actually inspired by the artist and the artwork for this album, and it just but yes, you're right. It's kind of easier to pronounce as it turns out, but it wasn't like really methodical in the sense of like we're gonna change a different direction. But this is the third of three albums that Sean's produced.
Yep.
And everything's in house with us, man. Sean does all the writing, the band. We don't use outside songwriters. We
What
produce it. We're all self-contained, and do it all ourselves. Matt Hyde, who's been the engineer on these three albums, he's worked with Deftones and
oh, very cool.
everybody, great engineer. So he engineered these three albums. So yeah, these three have been, it's been a starting with Poison the Parish and See We Pacem Parabellum, and then now this one, Surface Seems So Far. Um, it's like a great trilogy. I almost see it as a trilogy. The albums are stylistically not exactly the same, but I just think in terms of the experience, Sean producing them, the way they've come together, I definitely see it sort of in three parts, these three albums.
But I love it, and I love Sean's voice. I love that the heaviness. You guys, this song is so heavy. I love that. And then Sean can do it all. Like he can sing melodic. I think about
Yes.
all the singers that can do that. I mean, he's underrated and not underrated. Everybody knows him, but I'm just saying
Yeah.
he's just the man.
Yeah, man. He's just incredible. And I know I'm in a band with him. But, with all of them, man, Dale too, incredible bass player,
Oh yeah.
very talented guys, incredibly talented guys. And yeah, Sean he can do it all, and we can write something and record something like Broken. And then this newest song, Judas Mine, is just, heavy. But yeah, that's always been sort of the mantra, right? We love the heavy stuff, but with melody, right? It's
Yeah.
cool to scream. It's cool to get that angst across. We all have that rage, that we feel from time to time in our life. But we love great melody too. We're
I
all
love
fans
melody.
of
Yeah.
melody, and I love the balance of both. And I think that's what really makes it, man. Just heavy for heavy's sake, it gets boring. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just, and I love, and Sean's just got a great knack for great melody lines, and it just comes. To me, it just seems so natural for him, very easy for him. And I know he worked his ass off on all these songs, but yeah, he knocked it out of the park. Yeah, these great group of songs we put together.
Yeah, man. I'm excited to hear the full album. I can't wait.
Yeah, man, I'm excited for you to hear it too.
Well, John Humphrey, man, thank you for returning onto the show, man. This is awesome.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm glad you hit me up, and it's good to talk to you, man.
Man, I'm saying like every album you gotta be on the show now. Like that's just like your next album. I'm gonna hit you
Absolutely.
up, man.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Maybe in the meantime, I can figure out a way to do my own podcast and have you come on.
Dude, yes, man. That would
You've
rule.
inspired me. I'll have to think about it. I'll have to work
Yeah,
on that.
man. Yeah. All right, buddy. Well, it's good seeing you, man. I can't wait for the new album.
Thanks, Scott. I appreciate it.